to the show, everybody. We are here in the Pacific Design Center in Los Angeles, California, and we found the man behind the hamster-powered hamster drawing machine.
Hamster-powered hamster drawing machines right here in front of us.
It is right here in front of us. We're looking right at it in real life. And Neil Mendoza is the artist and designer behind that. Thank you, first of all, for letting us come here and check out the hamster and the machine.
The hamster-powered hamster drawing machine, no problem at all.
Yeah, so we have to ask you, why this? Like, what made you think this was a great project to embark on? Because it seems like it was really a lot of work to make happen.
It was a lot of work. It kind of evolved into being what it is today. It started off with kind of a fascination with drawing machines and the ability to encode complicated drawings into mechanical devices. So the drawing of the hamster is encoded into the shape of the wheels around the outside. So I started becoming really interested in that, and then I built a drawing machine which worked, but then I was like, what on earth is this thing going to draw? And so a hamster seemed good. There's not really enough hamster art out there, so I made it.
We agree.
So I made a hamster drawing machine, but then I'm like, oh, I don't want people to turn it around. Obviously, if it's a hamster drawing machine, then it should be powered by a hamster. And
So you came up with the idea to draw a hamster before you thought of powering it with a hamster?
I think so. It's hard. It's kind of, the memory is a little vague.
Crazy, all around the same time, it sort of came to you. Your website has a lot of projects that sort of incorporate the intersection of digital and mechanical technologies.
Yes.
And when did you first start kind of getting into that as a medium? Because it's a really interesting medium that I think not a lot of people think of when they think of art. I don't think that combination is really prevalent, and so to see something like this is really delightful. Like, people are, I mean, we were overjoyed to see it in person. It's so exciting and new, and it feels really fresh. So what started you down that path?
I think I've always liked tinkering ever since I was a kid, like taking things to pieces and putting them back together again. But then I went to university and studied computer science and kind of resigned myself to a career kind of like in a gray cubicle. But then, after going...
A bit like a hamster, I guess.
A bit like a hamster, resigned myself to the
Well
hamster wheel of life. But then, at some point, I came across different people doing interesting stuff with technology and code, and started trying to get into it myself. And I already had some experience doing programming and electronics. So then I took that experience, I guess, and started applying it to art making.
So what is the process of creating a drawing machine like this? It's such a simple thing to turn a circle into a complicated drawing of a hamster.
And that's sarcasm. So simple. You're it's such a simple thing.
No, it goes from a simple circle to something more complicated.
Yeah, no, that's very
So
true.
what is how does one
go
that?
about making a hamster drawing machine?
How do you help a hamster draw itself?
I used a piece of open source software called Open Frameworks, and it's like a coding framework that allows you to easily make creative stuff like computer graphics or sound or take inputs. And I made a physics simulation of the drawing arm part of the machine, and then I kind of used that physics simulation to kind of trace out where the wheels would need to be if the pen was in the correct place. And then I ended up with these two circular drawings, and then I used a machine called a CNC machine, which is basically like a big robot to kind of cut it out of wood for me, and that's how you would go about it. But originally I cut out these two parts of the machine just out of wood and then tried to make them all rotate together, but they were far too flimsy, so then the whole thing is sitting on kind of like a big aluminium circle behind it with the kind of chain you get in your bicycle sandwiched between it. Yeah, give it some weight and stiffness.
Wow.
All right.
I love the idea of you iterating on this idea over and over until you created what you wanted. And then you had to employ the labor of the hamster who's just taking a break.
Yeah, well, it's exhausting.
Yeah,
you got to run that wheel. I can barely run down a flight of stairs.
It's hard work. Maybe he's gone to post his selfie on Instagram.
That's true. Maybe he's really into social media. Does the hamster have its own social media account? This is a great question.
As far as I know, no, but it's not actually my hamster, so the real guardians of the hamster would have the true answer for that.
This hamster feels like a celebrity. Does the hamster have a name?
Joji.
Joji. Good hamster name.
What kind of reaction have you been getting to this piece?
I mean, people are really like happy. I think.
Yeah.
Just like they're really like interested in how the drawing machine part of it works, and then they're just really happy to see the whole thing come together. I mean, they like people's interest seems to shift between the two parts of it, and then take it in as a whole, and be kind of like, wow, that's really cute.
It's interesting because from one perspective, you could look at it as almost a cage that he's forced to have this this kind of tyrannical rule to be forced to constantly make an image of himself, or it could be this really joyous, happy experience. And I like that people take the latter.
I mean, I kind of like it to be open to interpretation. So if you want to like interpret it as a kind of comment on evil capitalism, then you can. Or if you want to interpret it as just nonsense, you can also do that.
Whimsical happiness. That's how I interpret it. Whimsical happiness. You also have another piece here that is really interesting in that I don't even know how to describe this. There's a microphone that picks up your words, and then it will throw your words literally onto a screen, and then there's a foot that can kick your words, and there's also another receptacle that if it catches a word, it will actually say the word out loud. Let's talk a little bit about that as well, because
one of those machines.
Because I just love these fantastical sort of contraptions that you put together using technology. This is really fascinating to me, and how you kind of come up with the idea to sort of embark on these projects, because in my wildest dreams, I don't think of anything quite like that. And
both of them have sort of a Rube Goldberg-esque
very much
feel to them.
Yeah. How do I get those kind of ideas and things?
Yeah, that, and also if you want to talk a little bit about that particular project, like I'd love to hear about how that even came together, because it just seems like there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, like moving parts to it, even though it's throwing words around. So first of all, where do you find inspiration for things? How do you kind of decide on a path to take for a project?
I mean, I think today, a lot of times we take technology for granted. Like, say you use Siri on your iPhone, it's doing probably more complicated stuff than my installation is doing. But I think it's really good to deconstruct that kind of stuff and make people think about technology and realize that a lot of the ways we use it is arbitrary, and get them to re-engage with it from a kind of as if they're seeing it anew. And I guess that's one of the things I try to do with my work, is to kind of make people realize that a lot of technology we use today is kind of arbitrary and dictated to us by companies who have their own agendas. So making, I guess, random nonsense to reignite people's interest in technology around us is one reason why I make it. I guess that particular piece started with voice recognition technology, and kind of trying to maybe show people the inside of how one of those systems might work, or get people to re-engage with that a little bit more. And then I guess just went down some kind of surreal nonsense path. I'm not really sure.
It's a bit of a Monty Python.
It's very abstract, Monty Python-esque.
The beginning, those animated bits. It feels a little like that too.
I mean, I think I was playing around with two things at the same time. They ended up becoming one project. I was playing around with showing people the inside of Siri's brain, possibly, and also this idea of combining projection with physical objects. So the words fly out the thing, and then this actual robotic foot can kick them. So it's I like kind of this interplay between the physical and digital, because so often we spend our time staring at screens, kind of absorbed in this kind of virtual world, where I think it's nice to kind of try and bring people back to three-dimensional reality, but mix the two up at the same time, because there's really interesting things you can do with virtual stuff and computer graphics as well. So
do you find yourself interested at all in augmented reality and virtual reality, since that's a new kind of upcoming thing? Is that something that maybe you're interested in taking your art and design to, or?
A little bit less. I mean, I actually did some projects with that a few years back, augmented reality projects, before it was cool.
Before Pokemon Go came out.
Before Pokemon Go came out, and it was fun. It's a fun toy. It still feels a little bit gimmicky, but I mean, Pokemon Go might be the first company that actually kind of built a killer app for AR.
Sure. It certainly seems that way.
But The thing I don't really like about virtual reality is, yeah, it kind of like takes you away from the world. It kind of enables escapism. So it's like fun for gaming and stuff, but I think with my work, I want people to, you know, engage with the moment rather than escaping the moment. And yeah, even though maybe people will be able to create a lot of awesome stuff in virtual worlds, it's still going to be created by people. And you know, if we look at our cities, they're all just big, like rectangular boxes. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's much easier also to connect with people on an emotional level if you're making actual three-dimensional stuff. Like we've evolved to kind of interact and perceive the world in 3 dimensions, and so. But yeah, maybe virtual reality is going to get rid of that barrier and will trick our brains into thinking we're in some kind of 3-dimensional virtual space. But anyway.
Someday.
Someday.
Maybe someday.
But, yeah.
Well, you've certainly evoked a lot of emotional happiness from us. I'm so glad. Yeah, and our viewers too. I'm so glad that we got to actually see this in person. It's like very exciting for us. And thank you for talking to us about your projects and your art. And if you want to check out Neil's work, you can go to neilmendoza.com. We'll have all the information on the website too. And that's it for our interview. So we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to magically appear back in the studio and continue the show. So stick around. It's Tomorrow Daily.